Well, hi, I am Clint Allen, and today we're going to be doing some debunking and some verification of everybody saying that, oh, well, fuel prices are up, but boy, am I going through fuel really fast. All right, who am I to be telling you anything about anything? Well, I've been in the automotive industry since my 20s. I'm actually ready for retirement. Actually, I'm that old, even though I may not look it. But I am a world-class certified technician holding a ASE 22. I have been in the sales end of it. I have been in the automotive industry, transport business. I've got a couple pieces of paper that the college gave me on specific items with business management, chemical, and other items. So basically, you might want to hang around and learn something. And let me give you a quick story, okay? Got to be careful about who you believe on YouTube or any social media, okay? I have a friend who many years ago decided, oh, well, you don't need a driver's license or insurance to be driving around in your vehicle because you are traveling. Oh, well, you don't need to pay your property taxes because the Constitution says that it's not in there, it's illegal. You don't have to pay your property taxes. Well, he paid multiple thousands of dollars in fines for not running around with the license plate, driver's license, or insurance to the point where they were going to throw his butt in jail. And he lost 2 of his properties that he had because he didn't pay the property taxes on them. I assure you, you cannot run around without a license plate as required by the state. You have to have a driver's license. It's required by the state. You have to have insurance. It's required by law. And you need to pay your property taxes. Why? Because it is required. It is the law. And that is just the way it is. There is no jumping out of it. All right? So, let's bring you up to speed with these couple of videos, and then I will get into the down and dirty gritties of how they can actually dilute fuel, which it's actually not diluting the fuel, and why some people feel that they are not getting as far as what they used to per fill-up. So check this out first.
We need to talk about these gas prices, because it ain't no way that gas is where it's at and my shit going faster out my vehicle. I swear to God, every time gas prices go up, it's like that shit go out the vehicle faster. And I know I'm not the only one seeing this shit. I know I'm not the only one experiencing this shit. But every time the fucking gas prices go up, you go through that shit quicker. I swear to God, when we had the Great Recession when Bush was there, man, you couldn't fucking keep gassing your shit. You burned through that shit. And then when everything came back to fucking normal, man, gas would last forever. You'd be like, goddamn, man, either I know it's cheaper, but goddamn, it's like this shit lasting longer. And this is how I know something up. If you have a newer vehicle, just check this shit out. If you used to filling that motherfucker up, right? You fill that motherfucker up, what it's gonna stop at. I get it. You have summer fuel and you have winter fuel. There is a difference. But we are on the summer side. So I fill my car up every week. It is no fucking way there is a 50 to 80 mile difference within a week. We talking about a week here. Shit went up. So it's like, I don't know, man. And it's crazy that we as Americans, we allow these motherfuckers to get over on us, get more motherfucking wealthy off our hard-earned fucking money. And I know I'm not the only one seeing this shit.
federal government just confirmed that they are about to start diluting your gasoline this May. So basically, the EPA just announced that starting on May the 1st, gas stations across the country can sell E15 fuel nationwide. If you're somebody that doesn't know what E15 fuel is, it's gasoline that's cut with 15% ethanol instead of just the usual 10. And you literally cannot make this up right now because they are calling it fortifying the domestic fuel supply, which is a really weird way to say that you're just going to be adding more corn juice to people's gas.
The EPA has issued emergency waivers for gasoline blends like E15.
Now this is why it actually matters to you, because ethanol has less energy than regular gasoline, so your car gets worse fuel economy on E15. The entire point of this is that you might be saving about 25 cents per gallon at the pump, but you're burning through it faster, so obviously the savings just cancels itself out. But this is the part that genuinely nobody's talking about, because the EPA normally bans E15 during the summer because ethanol evaporates faster in heat and creates more smog. They explicitly know this, but they just decided to waive their own rule that they made anyways because gas prices are high right now and people are angry. And if you're somebody that owns an older car, a lawnmower, a boat, or a chainsaw, they're saying to be careful because E15 can mess up those engines. So they're making your gas cheaper by just making it worse.
All right, so most of us have seen these videos before, and I just wanted to bring you up to speed here. But going through fuel faster, all right. No, you're not. In most cases, no, you are not. The reason why you think you're going through fuel faster is nothing more than the simple fact that we have been tapped. I mean, literally, we have just been tapped. Food costs are up, taxes are up, rent is up. Anything possible that the government and corporations can do to raise prices on everything, not all of it their fault, but they're screwing us in some cases here. It falls down to your mental, okay? I'm not saying that the people are nuts. I'm just saying that every dime counts now. And when you fill up, that is the simple fact that you're watching it closer. You are just plain flat watching it much closer. You're watching the fuel gauge go down. You're watching how much you put in, because none of us have gotten pay raises in the last umpteen years. So enough with that. So we are switching from winter blend to summer blend. And I'm going to get into, in the last part of this, into how they can be cheapening up fuel in order to make it go faster. But let's hit down on this first here. Switching over from winter to summer fuel. Okay. Plain fact of the matter is your computer in your vehicle needs to adjust. It just doesn't do it like that. It isn't like turning on a light switch. Same thing that if you have an E85 flex fuel vehicle, if you go from using regular octane gasoline to using E85, fact of the matter is just because you poured the E85 into your gas tank does not mean it's going to immediately change. The computer takes at least a minimum of a week to work out the new change in fuel. Okay? Now, when the government says that they're going to change the amounts of ethanol in the fuel, all they mean is that there are some states that do not have 15% ethanol. They're just going to allow it in all states. And that does not necessarily mean the state is actually going to do it. The United 50, United States, each state makes its own regulations and its own policies. That's why you have marijuana in some states legal and other states you do not. Okay? So just because the federal government says, go ahead, put E15, E20, Doesn't mean the state's going to do it. They might require their gas stations to protect the consumer. You know, fuck, you don't hear that too much. That actually happens. But to protect the consumer, that they're saying, no, we don't want that crap here, okay? Now, another variable here. Not all vehicles are ethanol capable, okay? E85 capable. So the government is not going to come out and say, okay, well, we're going to put E30 into your 87 or 89 octane fuel. You can't. You will wreck cars. You literally will wreck cars. It'll wreck the fuel pump. It'll wreck the fuel injectors. It'll wreck the cylinders. It'll wreck the valves. Those need to be made at a much higher heat capability. And the way they've cheapened up and made cars so crappy already, I would make sure you're not putting alcohol in anything. You'll burn up the engine faster. One thing that was said in the second video, putting in high ethanol fuel into weed eaters, lawnmowers, etc., yeah, bad idea. 10% max, preferably none, but 10% max. You will mess up, even though it has a carburetor. It's just not meant for that type of heat. Okay, so if you got E85, actually on the average, E85 is going to have about 100, 115 octane. That's why if you have actually a fuel flex vehicle where you're able to put alcohol in it, you let the computer adjust. It's much more snappier. It is extremely more snappier. She'll take off the stop sign much faster. It'll pull better, blah, blah, blah. But, the down trend of that is that there's not a big explosion there either in compared to, regular 87 octane, 93 octane regular fuel. Now, fuel is very, very, very chemical driven, they just don't take it running through, they don't take crude oil and run it through a filter, and they kind of do this, that, and the other thing, and then all of a sudden you have gasoline. I mean, this is a process that deletes and adds, and there's a bunch of stuff that's put into gas, and I'll get into that in the end once again, that make it what it is. Another point here is that states regularly, every year, every fuel station, they go there and the weights and measure, make sure that a gallon comes out of the pump is a gallon that's in the container. And in most cases, it's aired towards your benefit. Very few times do you ever see anything that would be less than a gallon. So that's not allowed. They shut down fuel stations for doing that kind of horseplay. Also, the state measures, goes through and tests fuel. Now, granted, it's not exactly right at the gas station. It's what comes out from the distributorship where most of the fuel comes from to begin with. So each company, Mobil or Clark or whatever the case may be, Standard, they all have, okay, this is the additive pack that we want in our fuel, so we can advertise that, ooh, we have this. So basically, there's no horseplay in that end. They aren't filling up the tankers and then sitting there with another hose filling it up with E85. No. That don't happen. It just does not happen. No matter how corrupt our government is and how shitty that they are, at least that does not happen. Now, there's also driving habits. Once again, we're at that time of the year again, depending on where you live in the United States. I mean, 2 days ago where I live here, I needed to have my sweater on, I needed to have my thermo shirt on, and my winter jacket. Okay, and in 3 days to today, I can walk outside in a t-shirt. So the vehicle computer is constantly changing, so it's not going to get the most efficient fuel mileage at that point in time, and that's also why you're burning through more fuel, okay? Let's jump to, let's see here, if you have an E85 vehicle, a fuel flex vehicle, and once again, not all vehicles can run straight E85, all right? You got to check your owner's manual to make sure you can if you want to save a few pennies there. But E85 compared to 87% octane regular gasoline with 10% ethanol in it, you need to have a $1 variable, okay? So E85 needs to be $1 less than the 87 octane with 10% ethanol in order for you to break even on the average, break even to start saving money. So if there's a $1.10 difference between E85 and 8710, $1.20, that's when it's worth your time to change over to the E85. Now, if you have a vehicle that is flex fuel and you're having issues with your catalytic converters, not running properly, not functioning properly, functioning below their capability, actually running alcohol, that stops that problem. Yep. Actually running alcohol, E85 in it for probably about a month, 2 months, that'll clean that converter right out. Because alcohol runs at a much higher rate of heat in the cylinder, okay? So you're saying, oh, you've been promising since the beginning. What are they doing to our fuel to make it burn faster? Well, here's something that's not regulated, and I pulled up a few things on the web here. Now, I knew about this in the past, but in order for me to give you correct information, I'm just going to read it off of here, okay? Okay, so the main difference between winter and summer 87 octane fuel is the Reid Vapor Pressure, RVP, which measures how easily the fuel vapors during the winter. Gas has a higher RVP to help engines start in cold weather, while in summertime, the gas has a lower Reid Vapor to prevent evaporation in high heat and reduce pollution and slightly improved economy, okay? So now you're, well, what's Reid Vapor Pressure? Well, hang on. Reid Vapor Pressure is changed by adjusting the concentration of volatile light end hydrocarbons, primarily butane, okay? I bet you there's something you never knew, that there is butane in your fuel, okay? Boom, on to the next one. Butane is a high-octane hydrocarbon, often used as a component in liquefied petroleum gas and vehicle fuel. So butane burns cleaner than gasoline and increased engine life, but it has a lower energy density, leading to reduced fuel efficiency, and it presents high explosion. So there's more of an explosion in the cylinder, okay? And that's why during the summertime they reduce is down to almost nothing the amount of butane that goes into fuel. Otherwise we would have, you know, when you're watching your favorite movie and the car goes over the cliff or it flips over and it goes, when it's really hot out and you got hot weather and you got way too much butane in the fuel, that's what happens. So they've got that figured out. So the point being is that if the fuel seems to be going faster, they might be farting around with the butane level, okay? And that right there would lower your fuel mileage. But anyways, I hope this has been informational. This channel here normally has reaction videos where we watch TikTok videos of whatever, you know, crawled up my keister and got my interest, and then we discuss and go through rationally what I think about what's going on. So anyways, I hope you check into that. You can jump down into the description. I'll put a couple of them down there, and you can check that out. And, you know, at least throw a guy a like here, you know, the old like. I like this video. That way it gets out, obviously. I know you heard this a million times before, but it gets out and people can actually learn why they're having issues, whether it would be factual or up here, just due to the situation. Have a good day.